Okay. Yeah, this is the Fahali story when two bulls fight. Are you seeing the two bulls fighting? So when these two bulls fight, who is suffering? And if the fighting started in the morning, it means these children will not go to school. And if they go to school, no one is going to pack their break. If the fight started in the evening, it means no dinner was cooked. It means they might have slept hungry. And what is the effect of parental conflict on our children? That is what happens. They always imagine the breakup. They imagine a lot of things, knowing that our children have been raised in the information age. There's a 4-year-old who came to court and asked me, are my parents divorcing? I found that to be a very big word. So they explained to me what divorcing is, and I noticed that they actually know what it is. So they always think about the separation and they blame themselves most of the time. They start feeling guilty and asking why the parents are fighting. And most of the time they will say it is because they're there. They're the reason for the fight. And they will want to remove themselves from that family. What we have noticed is most children who come to our court suffer from anxiety-related problems. A child will come to court and tell you, I'm feeling like my stomach, I can't, there are a lot of butterflies and I feel like my stomach is full all the time. Those are now signs of anxiety. I have no appetite. I can't concentrate in class. I can't sleep. Those are signs of anxiety that are caused by conflict. And when they go to the therapist, they're not able to express everything. So they have to bear the brunt of a family that is not working. What is the current state of our family here in Kenya? I looked at the recent KNBS reports and there's an increase of around 20% rise in divorce. That is around 25,000 families facing emotional and legal consequences of separation annually. And 87 of our cases, 87% are mostly land cases. And again, that touches on family, spousal and close family disputes, child support. So you can imagine if you see anybody having a cause list in court, any magistrate or judge having a cause list in court, Katiba Institute and UON have told us that 87 of those cases, 87%, are family related. What are some of the causes of conflict in our family? Now, sitting in the children's court, I can tell you communication breakdown, and especially the silent treatment. When one communication is one way, you don't want to say exactly what should be done. You don't want to give instructions. We also have financial constraint. You can imagine now we are in the holiday season, we are out, we are going to celebrate, we are traveling, everyone is leaving the city to go to the village. Of course, now we are the
Hapa ndio
village
kwa
heroes.
Oh,
Okay. So the financial constraint, come January, majority of our cases, 70% of our cases that will be filed will concern school fees. Yet we have the whole of November, actually October when they close school, November, December, then come January is when you discover that you don't have school fees. And then the conflict begins now there in January. You don't have shopping for school, you've not bought uniforms, you've not bought books. Now financial constraints starts there and people start blaming each other. Then change your family dynamics. Who want to you in Nairobi if you lose your job right now? Because then that will tell you the kind of a person you have as a spouse. So change your family dynamics. Some of those dynamics are to extremes. Even sickness can cause divorce. We have cases where you have to support this person financially, maybe through their illness, and that strains the family. And those family dynamics, including caring for somebody who is unwell in hospital, can break families. I didn't know that for better and for worse, when the worst comes, I have seen in court where somebody is really in need of medication, and their spouse is the first person to dump them, and they are thrown to their family. Then unresolved trauma, we get into relationships, we get into marriage, and we are not prepared for it, especially the generation that was raised with very strict parents. You don't know how to handle your spouse. You reach there, you have expectations. They promised you heaven, they can't even provide earth. Conflict starts there, and automatically your trauma responses begin to come into play. So if you find that there's a conflict, the first thing you want to do is you want to coil into your own self, and you have unresolved and bottled up stress and trauma from your childhood, and that is what you bring into the union. Then change of gender roles. 70%, actually now almost 80% of our cases show that the women are taking up the role of caregiving and supporting the family. We are now moving to what we call submissive providers for women. If you do a survey of most of the homes, you find that it is the woman who's pulling the weight. They're the ones financing almost everything. They're out there struggling and working so hard to ensure that they provide for their family. I don't know what happened to these gender roles, because with time, there's something we call the money syndrome. I want to use this word loosely. I borrowed it somewhere, that men, not all of them, majority of the men do not want to pull their weight to the extent that they just want to sit home and become nannies. So that's why the word money. They just want to become nannies, to take care of the children. When you wake up in the morning as a woman, you go to work, you find them, you'll find that you come back from work and you find they're still in the sitting room, they're doing video games, or they've just gone to, they're outside the home most of the time, and there's nothing they're bringing home. So I don't know how we started changing the roles, because growing up, we knew that men were providing and our mothers stayed home to take care of the children. But right now, it's the women who are in the boardrooms, they're going out there to grind, and the men are left behind. They're left at home taking care of business. And at times, it is even sad because they're not even taking care of the children. They're out there. We don't know, they can't account for their time, they can't account for their money. And maybe they have another family and they're not disclosing to you, but somehow they're disappearing, slowly disappearing from our homes. Then there is birth order clashes. We found this a lot. Until now, we even ask questions like, are you a firstborn? Are you a middle child? Are you a lastborn? Because then we've seen, who unto you if you are a firstborn lady married to a lastborn man? And there, the roles now start clashing. The lastborn will not pull their weight most of the time because they're used to being provided for, they've been babied. So this is the man now you're expecting to start making decisions with you, serious decisions with you. And they will tell you, let me consult my mom, let me go back home. I'm not used to this. So those understanding of our birth order has also made it very difficult. Not understanding, actually lack of understanding of our birth order and the role it plays even in marriage is what brings family conflict. Then there's also conflicting parenting styles. We've all come from different backgrounds. There are those from a very strict background, those from a very laissez-faire background. In fact, there are those who, whether they are home or not, the parents will not even know. Now, you are marrying someone who has a very different parenting style. You haven't been prepared to parent. You haven't sat down to agree. What are the boundaries? How do we raise our children? Which parenting style how do we go to authoritative parenting? So you find the authoritarian will clash with the one who is very permissive. And fathers fall into this trap where they become very permissive. Children eat pizza from Monday to Friday. There's really no much going on. And again, there's this notion that because we came from very strict backgrounds, our mothers went to the same school. You now come here and find that you want to baby your children so that they don't go through what you went through. So there's no balance because now you've come from an extreme of a very strict parentage, and now you want to reflect the same on your child, either by not parenting at all or being too permissive. You see the kababa and the kamama. And the parent will tell you, no, let the child do what they want to do. There is no discipline. And that conflicting parenting styles actually brings conflict, and they end up coming to court because they can't agree. Then, of course, this is a topic for another day. We'll not go so much into the parenting styles, but I'll just mention that the authoritarian, the permissive, and then an involved parent have a negative effect on the children. And the authoritative parent is the one that we are working towards becoming, the one who is responsive and demanding. You want results, but at the same time, you must understand that those results take time and they require a process. So the effect on our parenting styles and our attachment, the attachment of the child also clashes. Because a child who comes from a very strict, very unpredictable background becomes anxiously attached or disorganized or avoidant. You find that there are people who just don't want to take responsibility. They don't want to be accountable. But we, again, as a court, have insisted that we should move all our children to secure attachment, where there is stability, there is love, and there is fostering of the child's development. So what is the law governing family? And in this case, parenting and having children. I mean, because families come with children, isn't it? So what is this law that governs our families? And knowing, I want to put a disclaimer that the law is very harsh. It really doesn't care whether you have feelings or not. And that is why the courts have slowly moved to mediation, because the law is the law. And I will explain to you why being subjected to the law becomes very difficult and strains the family further. I'm a proponent that family disputes should not be resolved in court, and I will explain. So we go to Article 2. Of course, for parenting and the children, we go to the UNCRC, the Convention on the Rights of the Child, which you adopted by virtue of Article 2 and other conventions. But for these purposes, we have the UNCRC. Then we have Article 45, Article 53. Those ones govern family, and also in this case by default parenting, and largely the Children Act. For purposes of this meeting today, we'll focus on the Children Act. So what does the UNCRC say in Article 9? This is our law, and it says that state parties, in this case Kenya, shall, mandatory, ensure that a child shall not be separated from his or her parents against their will, except when competent authorities like the court, subject to judicial review, determine, in accordance with applicable law and procedures, that such separation is necessary. So it means that a child should not be separated from his or her parents against their will. Then, of course, Article 45, that the family is a natural and fundamental unit of society and the necessary basis of social order, and shall, mandatory, enjoy the recognition and protection of the state. Article 53, which is also called the paramountcy principle, is here. The best interest of the child says that every child, in this case, every child in Kenya, has the right to parental care and protection, which includes equal parental responsibility of the mother and father. It means that the father and the mother shall provide for this child, whether they are married or not. What makes families come to court, and what makes the court issue a divorce and separate these families? Ideally, we do not want to separate families. But why would the court separate these families, separate this couple? It's because of cruelty. If there's cruelty, any sense of cruelty, whether mental or physical, on the spouse or children. Adultery, one or more acts of adultery. You find that some families are surviving, they know there is adultery, but because they've been told, ndoa ni kuvumilia, you have to stay, even if he or she is, especially it's the women who are told vumilia. Even if there's someone out there, you'd still want to hang around because you do not want to destabilize the home. You don't want to separate the children. You don't want to leave this person. Maybe they're the sole provider of the family and you're depending on them. And the court has insisted that a place where you have to vumilia is not good for the children because of the negative vibes that the children pick from your relationship. Desertion at least for 3 years. You go away for 3 years, we consider you gone, and we consider that there is no marriage there. We look at the amount of time you've been separated. Then exceptional depravity, we also look at it. If there's deprivation of the marital rights and also the conjugal rights, we look at them. And then irretrievable breakdown. This one is common. We stopped as a court trying to even look at the other four. We are saying if this marriage you feel it's not working, please separate. And these days, the judgment is just one-liner. The marriage has irretrievably broken down. Because if you start looking for those other things, you'll find that these people just don't want to be together. They've come to court. They don't want to stay together. The marriage has broken down. And that is what the courts are saying. We don't want you to be killed in that marriage. In the name of we're looking for desertion, we're looking for depravity. We don't even want to go into the details anymore. We just want to know, are you guys going to work it out? No. Then break up, you get your divorce. And even this time, it's even worse because you come for a hearing in the morning at 9 o'clock, your matter is scheduled for hearing. And I can assure you by 2 o'clock, you have your decree, you have your divorce. You have both the divorce and the other one that you will have to wait for 30 days. Both of them you're given. In fact, these days, the court is even giving out both. You will be divorced within 3 hours. We are now saying if it's not working, please just come and we will issue you with a divorce because we don't want you to be stressed in that union. So again, the Marriage Act will refer you to us. So if you have filed for a divorce or you're in the divorce court, that court will not handle your children. The court that will handle your children, according to Section 85, is the Children's Court. That is where I sit. But now we are also thinking, instead of you filing very many cases, let's see how you can come up with a parenting plan before you get your divorce. So those are discussions that are still advanced. But my proposal was that before you divorce them, please give them an opportunity to jipanga. Let them panga the children, because there is also matrimonial property. Maybe the house is on mortgage and it is on me, and I have to leave that house. What happens to the children? Maybe it's the man who picks the children from school at 4 o'clock. What happens now when you divorce us at 12 o'clock? Who's supposed to pick those children? And I don't even have a car as a woman, or I don't even have the school bus details. This has just come up and we are divorcing. So what happens to the children at 5 p.m.? Where will they sleep? So we are now asking that we resolve these issues before they come to court, because those are the dynamics. The matrimonial court, the divorce court will not really care what happens because they have been excluded from handling your children by virtue of Section 85. So the Children Act gives effect to Article 53 of the Constitution. It talks about parental responsibility at large. In this case, I will only handle parenting. We'll not go into the details of the Act, but specific provisions that deal with family and especially parenting. Who is a parent? The Act says that the parent is mother or father. When it started with mother, it's not that there is preference. They just started with mother. There was even an argument that why couldn't it be alphabetical? But again, it's mother or father or any other person who is conferred parental rights by law. So parental rights can be given to you. You don't have to be the mother or the father of that child. And how is the law supporting this? And how does the law confer you with parental rights? Adoption. You can adopt a child, and automatically, once you have your adoption order, you become parents to that child. Transmission through marriage. If you marry someone, you have your Rurasho, you have your Nyombo on Saturday, and as you do the negotiations, you're told that this girl has a child. Then you are conferred parental rights by virtue of that marriage. That child becomes, in fact, that becomes your firstborn. And who unto you if they don't disclose to you? Because then eventually we have to prove in court whether it was disclosed or not. Then kafala. Kafala is for the Muslim faith. They're the ones who do the kafala. There's a whole procedure which we'll explain another day. Then kinship. You as a couple can take your sister's child, especially if they give you the consent. So we are now having something called kinship adoption. You can take a child who is your relative, and automatically, once you have an order, a care order, you become a parent to that child. Then there's guardianship. There's a child here, maybe your sister's or your brother's child whose one parent has passed on. You can come and seek guardianship, and automatically you're given parental rights by virtue of being the guardian to that child. And we will also give you joint guardianship as husband and wife. So conferment by law is through adoption, transmission through marriage, surrogacy. Sorry, I skipped surrogacy because it's a bit controversial. There's a law right now. There's a bill we are waiting for in Senate. It's soon becoming law. Surrogacy now is where you hire a womb. I've seen cases where somebody hires a womb. There's one who hired her womb for 50,000 and she was paid her 50,000. And when she gave birth, you're not allowed to see that child. You're not allowed to breastfeed. The child is taken away from you. So there's something now we call womb for hire. And Kenya has been cited to have the cheapest wombs in the world. So the world is coming to Kenya to hire our wombs, and we are slowly giving out our children because we have set the bar very low. Parental care. Every child has the right to know their parents and to be cared for. So this idea of putting XX in the birth certificate, the court will correct that. If a father comes, mostly fathers are affected, a father comes and they find that the birth certificate has so many X's, it means this child doesn't have a father, but the court will ask you, how did you get this child? So we go back and look for the father. Actually, it's the father who comes to court to ask that their name is added into the birth certificate. And if you come to court and you want to remove the child from the jurisdiction, we will tell you to look for the father to give consent and show us how you acquired parental responsibility over this child without the father. So if that information is missing, then we'll have to advertise and say this matter is coming to court. So you'll have something called substituted service, that father to be informed that the child is about to, the parental rights are about to move. If we can't completely find the father, maybe they are not in the lives of the children, or they just decided to abdicate their responsibility. So your work now as a mother is to prove that this man cannot be available and cannot come to court. Then parental care is also extended beyond 18 years. So there are parents who tell their children, after 18 years, we are done. You are not done. They can come to court for extended childhood orders, and you'll support them until they finish university. So if you think now after 18, your parenting duties have ended, you will be shocked when your children, I have children who have moved the court to ask for school fees for university. And we have summoned both parents. And if any of them has been supporting, maybe one of them has been supporting and they've now stopped supporting, we even go ahead to attach their salary because then they have a right to an extended childhood. So some of the terms in the Act is legal custody. Simply, this means the right to make decisions together, the shared parental responsibility. You'll also see something called actual custody. Actual custody is physical possession, the care and the control of a child. So it means that if you are the custodial parent, there's a divorce. Party A and B have divorced. The children will remain maybe in the matrimonial home with one parent. The one who remains with the children is the custodial parent. They have actual custody. The one who has moved out of the matrimonial home, who is the non-custodial parent, still has parental responsibility and will give them access rights. So on alternate weekends, that other party will access the children as long as he can prove that he can caregive. He has a stable home, he has a home that the children can go to. And before he remarries or she remarries, the court has put in measures to ensure that you don't introduce your new spouses or would-be husband and wife to the children unless there is, especially if the matter is in court, unless the court is informed, so that we take the child through something called transition counseling, where this child moves now from a monogamous setup to what we call blended families. So the court will not stop you from accessing the children even if you've remarried, but there's a procedure to it. Equal parental responsibility, neither the father or the mother of the child shall have superior rights or claim. That is section 32. What are the duties of the parent? People assume that the duties of the parent is just to provide. To provide what? The duties of the parent is to provide basic nutrition. That is what the act says. We call it food. Just basic nutrition, shelter, water and sanitation, facilities, clothing. These are mainly provided by the custodial parent, the one who has the children. We assume they have a house. In that house, there is food. In that house, there is water. So you can imagine somebody coming to court to say, my children live in a house without water. That becomes a crisis because then it offends section 31. And especially if the children have to go and fetch the water on their own. It's their parents provide that water, as simple as just water and sanitation facilities. And these days, people have even added Wi-Fi, but the Act talks about food, shelter, clothing. And then we have the one who has left the home, mainly the non-custodial parent, will provide medical for these children. So your SHA should be active because then this parent cannot take care of all these other needs and still take care of medical. But if they have a higher medical cover, they can still take it up and then you take clothing. So you can trade in. Then basic education, and basic education means until university. So if you're the one who moved out, you'll take care of those children until their school fees until university. Then there's a catch here called the general guidance, social conduct, and moral values, especially moral values. A child comes to court and says, Daddy keeps changing girls. I have so and so on Monday. Then when I went there the other time, I found another woman in the house. We will deny you access until you put your house in order. So moral values. Then the duty to protect the child from neglect, abuse, discrimination, or differential treatment. At times you find differential treatment plays out when a child is not named after your mother. There's a particular community that names children as per their parents, and the birth order of their siblings. So you'll find they will prefer the one they call Kamam because that one is called after their mother and leave the other one who is named after the mother-in-law. So we are saying differential treatment is prohibited. And if that plays out in our courts, we are going to admonish on that parent. Then provide guidance in religious. So it means we must go to church or any place of worship. Moral, social, cultural. We also look at the culture as long as it's not harmful to the children, and other values, of course, the act says that are not harmful. Then you determine the name. You can't wake up and say this child is going to be named after my father. Both parents must be involved in naming the child. In fact, I have a child who has 3 names, and one party has said, remove the middle one. I don't like it. I was not consulted. And now the court has to determine whether he should be removed or not. What do we consider? Has this child known this name for more than 3 years? If the child started writing the third name, then we will retain the third name. So people come to court at times to even have a conflict on the name of the child or even the spelling. They will say you're putting Anna with an H. I don't want it. And it becomes a big conflict. So we have to determine whether we are removing the H or not. Procure registration. Of course, this is obvious that once you get a baby, you need to have a birth certificate. Then appoint a legal guardian. In case something happens to you, please appoint a legal guardian to take over your duties. Otherwise, somebody else will come and claim that child. Other party will remarry and you will not have an option other than, you'll be gone. So you'll not even have, you'll not determine who will take care of your child or children. To receive, recover, and otherwise deal with the property of the child. So if a child has been bequeathed some property, the parents will hold it in trust until the child turns 18. Then we have the equality clause in 32. It says neither the father nor the mother of the child shall have prior rights or claim. This one I think we've already mentioned. So what happens now under family assistance? You will come up with a parenting plan. You've divorced. You've come to our court. We give you an opportunity to resolve the issue first on your own through mediation. And you must come up with a parenting plan. This can be done by a parenting coach. It can be done by a mediator on how the children will spend time with each parent. We must share these children equally. Alternate weekends. 50%, 50-50. Holidays, it means with dad, 50%, and with mom, the other 50. Then you must alternate Christmas and Easter. So you count who had Christmas last time. It was me, or we were both together. We were together that time. Our marriage. So last Christmas we were together. So then we will agree. I have a family meeting. So can I take them? So we have to negotiate until we agree who takes Easter, who takes Christmas, then we alternate. At times we even share out birthdays if you're not able to agree. We say this birthday, you'll have two birthdays, two birthday parties. One birthday party will be had on Friday, then next Friday, dad will have their birthday party. Look at the inconvenience that this divorce brings to the children, because then they have to be shared equally. And at times it's really ridiculous, because at times we have to count until half a day. I was with the child for 2.5 days and you took 1.5. So we have to agree and say, okay, fine. Now, because I mean, those trivial things are not trivial in the children's court. They become such big conflict that the court has to determine. And how to jointly make decisions on matters relating to parental responsibilities, including religious upbringing. There's a party who decides, I want to get married to another faith. So we have to agree. Is this child going to the mosque? And if they are used to going to a certain church, do we now start saying the child can go to the mosque? Can we have these two different faith-raised children? So the court again has to determine, and mostly we will go with the consistency. Which faith has this child been accustomed to? The Christian faith. Which church? Church X. That is the church we will maintain. If the child is old enough and has been attending Sunday school, we will maintain that Sunday school. And it means even the other party who has changed faith eventually will have to support the child into the faith that the child was first introduced to. Then you have to give us your contact information. We must know where you're living. At times, parties will tell you, I don't want to disclose, but you must disclose to us where you're staying. If you've moved from Kilaleshwa to Kibera, we must know that now you live in Kibera, otherwise we'll not give you the child. Then, of course, the visiting schedule, holiday and school breaks, transport and travels within and outside Kenya. This is a big challenge during the long holidays. Right now, I'm determining whether the children should go to South Africa or should remain in Kenya. Is it London? Is it they spent London? So there is a conflict now on which country that this child should, this children should, or this child should go to. So what we do is we interview the child and they'll tell you, I don't want to, I'm tired of traveling. I want to go to Masai Mara. And that is what we will do. So when there's a conflict on travels, we also resolve it. They need to notify the other parent of any movement. If you want to move, if you want to relocate, you must notify the other party. The manner in which decisions relating to education shall be made. We are now moving to senior school. And the conflict in January, in fact, it has even started now. This week I was handling conflict on, we have interviews, I want school A, I want to change systems, and the other party has refused. So we have to sit down again and talk to the child and say, okay, now we can't agree on which school we want to take you. Can you tell us, do you want to change systems? So the court has to work with the child and come up with a decision on which school is best for that child if parents don't agree. So what has the court said about the role of a parent? It is important for me to just give you a glimpse of some of the decisions that have come from our superior courts. So the Supreme Court has said that before you make any order in relation to a child and co-parenting, you must first find from the parties if they had a parental responsibility agreement. Did they have a working arrangement? Then you go as per that working arrangement. Maybe just tweak it a bit, but maintain the agreement. What is the past performance of each parent? If one parent has not been there, in fact, last week I was handling one who was never gone to any school event. The child is very talented. This parent has not gone to any school event. So how do you entrust full custody to that parent who's never been involved? We often ask, who signs the homework book? It is always dad who is signing. Okay. The children will tell you, we never see dad. He's always coming home late. We also put a mental note on that one. This one comes home late. He's always on night shift. And then he goes for night shift, then he's partying all the time. We'll note that down. Each parent's presence including his or her ability to guide the child. Then, of course, number 4, which is the most important because it's also in the act, is the sustainable wishes of this child. What does the child want? If they're able to express their opinion, what do they want? Which home they want to go to? And of course, there's a lot of coaching. So we must also be very cautious. So as a coach, we ask questions that you can't coach a child about, like who took you to the salon? So you can't coach you can't coach a child about facts. So then the financial status of which party. There is a situation where there's a parent who can afford a very high-end school. The other one cannot afford. So we will give the child the highest benefit. We will not deprive them of the benefits of an international school when the other parent can provide the same. And so if you come and say, I don't want international schools, I want an ordinary public school, we'll also weigh the financial status. Are you able to sustain? In fact, there are cases where a parent wants to take a child to a high-end school, they can't afford it. But they still insist this is the school I want to go to. So what does the other parent do? They will give us school fees worth the school fees worth of the school they can afford. Then that school fees will be paid into this high-end school, then the other parent will top up the difference. The individual needs of each child. The quality of the home environment. Is your home conflict compliant? And that is where we are moving to right now, ensuring that all our homes are conflict compliant. What is the quality of your home? There is a child who tells me that we have an alcohol cabinet. You see, that's already a red flag. The need to preserve the personal relationships with the other parent. We do not want to alienate the child. So the other parent will get the child. And if we feel like the child might not be very safe, we'll issue something called supervision order. So there will be supervised access. And this is where we've told the mother to give us a caregiver of choice. So the nanny, please treat your nannies well because they're the ones who will either make or break the access. And again, let's not use our nannies as FBI agents. Mlikula nini, alikuja na nani, or even use the children as FBI agents. So access will be given, but within a context. Then, of course, the mental health of the parents. We realize that mental health is now big. It's a big issue. Wellness. We realize that we have been exposing children to people who are not mentally well. Their wellness is questionable. So we will subject you to a psychiatric or even a psychological assessment. So we used to have a case. This is a 2006 case before the Constitution that made very clear that mothers will get priority, especially of children of tender years. That when a child is below 10 years, automatically the mama should get actual custody of that child. But the same in 2022, where the Court of Appeal the same Court of Appeal came to say the tender year principle must be subjected to the best interest principle. A father could be a better caregiver than a mother. So we no longer give preference to mothers. We give preference to the best interest of the child. Who is the better person to take care of this child? Then, of course, parental involvement is key. The court in 2022, the High Court said that parental involvement by both parents in a child's life is critical for the child's wholesome development. The reality of life is that it is not always possible for a child to grow up in the same home with both parents. This is because of breakdown in relationships between the parents. When a relationship between the parents of a child breaks up and they're no longer able to live together, or where unmarried persons have a child, it is necessary to ensure that both parents influence and support the child. And this is done through facilitating access of both parents to the child. And this is by yours truly. It made its way to the Kenya Law Reports, EKLR, where I had this to say that children who experience significant conflict within their families will often have trouble with their social and emotional development and well-being. This is true for children who regularly hear their parents fighting, a phenomenon that has been referred to as background noise in a child's upbringing. So we also say that children, I also say this in that judgment, that children emulate what they see. copying the behavior of their parents with their social relationships, And if children are used to witnessing conflict and poor emotional regulation on a regular basis, this will be their understanding of social relationships as their social networks expand in life. So parenting has a bearing on how this child turns out later in life. Then this one was the court was not very happy about parents who had neglected their children and said, no parent should be forced by anyone to take care of their child. These parents before me, before the court then, in 23rd February 2024, these parents before me did what produces children by themselves. There is no evidence of coercion. They ought to bear responsibility just as readily and willingly. Of course, I'm the one who added that one because the judge must have been annoyed and even said that neglecting children is a criminal offense. So what are the emerging issues in parenting from what we have seen in court? We have something called surrogacy, which most people don't even know about. I've already explained it. This one, parties will just get married, and especially the younger generation, and decide we don't want to have children. I don't want to go through the pain of childhood and childbearing. I don't want marks on my body. I still want to maintain my frame. You will hire a womb for that, so that you just ask somebody to, you donate they're called what, the gametes, and you let somebody carry that pregnancy for you. And after 9 months, you go for your baby and you maintain your frame. Then you raise this child as your own. But now the surrogate mother will have to give you full parenting rights through a court order. Then there's blended families. Growing up, there was Tom, Mary, Mr. and Mrs. Kamau, and they even had a baby. You remember that family? Hello, children. But these days, one child has four parents. I don't know whether to call that a blessing, because you have mom and dad. Mom gets married to someone else. Dad gets married to someone else. So you have dad is home and mom is home. And you are supposed to be shared equally. So you can't have a balance. There's one home that, of course, is fun to be in. And I've also noticed that the Cinderella syndrome is no longer there. The stepmothers are really cool. In fact, there's a boy who told me, I'd rather stay with my stepmom because she's really funky, she's stylish, she knows how to dress. I don't want to go back to my mom. So some of the things that the Gen Alphas are looking at. She understands things, she's on TikTok, my mom is old school. So you'll find that our children have reached that place where they are more appreciative of their stepmoms. I think because stepmom most of the time is just here to support the ecosystem, and she already knows what she wants, and rarely would she get children. And if she does, she will readily accept the other child. They're no longer, there's no conflict anymore. There are no bad feelings. I don't know if you watch the Bahatis, and sorry, I'm not trying to advertise their channel or anything. I mean, the fact that they just say, okay, fine, the child is fine on this other side. When he comes, and I see people are now moving towards blended families. I don't know what the church has to say about that. Then there's digital parenting, where one party is completely not available. But they are saying, I can't come out of work. I'm in the military. I would like to parent. So what we do is we usually give them alternate days access audiovisual. So you must have a phone, provide a phone, make sure there's internet, and then the other party must avail that phone at least 1 hour on alternate days and longer over the weekends. Then there are those parents who do not parent, they do not want to co-parent. They can't see eye to eye. So they've decided to come up with a parenting app. We have allowed them so that app updates you on any issue that concerns the child. If you go to Play Store right now and Google their parenting app, you'll find very many. And people have chosen to just do that. I don't talk to you, but I'm able to look at the parenting app and see what is coming up. Then I will tick whether I'm available or not. Then, of course, the alphabet issues, the LGBTQ and stuff, it has gone down a bit. So I don't know, there is a slowdown in the curve of the cases that come with LGBTQ elements. I don't know whether it was a funding issue. I don't want to get into it, but we're no longer having those issues of of my dad has a male partner, or my mom has a female partner. I no longer hear children saying that she has gone down. Then, of course, we mentioned change of gender roles, where the mothers are now wearing the pants. They are taking up more responsibilities than the fathers. And of course, there is something called the generational evolution, where we have the Gen Zs and the Gen Alphas, and we don't know how to even parent them. It's such a struggle because the parents are now the Gen Xs and the millennials who have to deal with children who know so much, and we're not prepared for it, or children who are too exposed, children who are too expressive. We don't know how to handle them. So there's just like a cocktail of issues that come up in that generational evolution. We don't know how to parent. Is it strictness? Is it follow-up? Is it helicopter parenting? I see a lot of helicopter parenting where we want to get involved in everything until now you raise a child who cannot make a decision. They can't make decisions on their own. I also see a bit of let them go to boarding school. And it's really there's now a rising need to ship our children to boarding school. I don't know why there's that sudden shift to let the child go to boarding school. Or is it because the boarding schools are not the boarding schools that we went to? There is now Wi-Fi, there is more caregiving, maybe temporarily because of conflict, let the child concentrate, focus in school. But children are slowly moving to boarding school again, and especially at a very young age. So what is the co-parenting support that we give parents in court? Section 95 allows us to get experts on board. So we have parenting coaches with us. And Section 97 of the Act says that they should file a report in court for consideration. We also have something called family assistance order, where the parenting coach will assist this family until the conflict phase is over. So the coach plays a major role, because then they're the person, or this is the go-between, the person who will be talking to the other parent. They will also get to interview the children to let them express their wishes. And what are the strategies for making our homes conflict compliant? Strategies for conflict compliant homes: knowledge sharing. I believe most of us have never interacted with the information you got today. And if you've not known what we do in court, you just think we are jailing people. We are doing more than sending people to jail. We are also participating in this parenting guidance. Then positive parenting strategies, straight from antenatal. How do we receive our children? Are the nurses at the labor ward trained to handle these children as they come into the world? Or they're the ones that start creating distress by the way they speak to their mothers? And are they coming into this world with some positive words? Because children listen to those words. And we are now sensitizing the hospitals and telling them, let's be kind. Bringing a life into this world is a life-threatening event. You don't have to push these women so hard. And stop telling these children, "Kona kichwa kubwa." They're just children. Stop speaking negativity from day one. Then parenting coaching as a supplemental service. We now have parenting coaches in court. And then we are now moving towards family-centered mediation as opposed to litigation. We are sending away families that are here. We are sending them back to mediation. And then compulsory parental involvement in child development with the help of your parent. CBC parents, hello. We advocated for involvement. With the help of your parent, make a boat. But now I'm seeing now the teachers are telling us that the boat is being made by the guard there at the gate. You pay them and you want a boat? Okay, let's pay. And in fact, the other day I was told there's somebody who has decided to have a stall at Masai Market for CBC. So just go by and give your child, and they get very good grades. But is that parental involvement, or we are teaching our children how to cheat? And with those very many remarks, thank you very much.